not information. All the information for 3-4 months has been, but Mason Mount's leaving. As it stands right now, he is leaving Chelsea because there's too much friction, too much has gone on, and they don't see a way back. But I was like, yeah, but he's been at Chelsea all this time. Like, he doesn't want to leave Chelsea. If they can stay, he'll stay. And they were like, yeah. And then suddenly this Man United thing comes onto the table and accelerates quite quick. And last week, there were contacts between intermediaries and Man United to understand what was happening. And from a Mount point of view, a move to Man United looks good. It looks good. It can happen. And there's been nothing yet to say that it's going to turn around for him. The situation, obviously, that I think Fabrizio might have put out today, I haven't actually seen the exact information he put out, but I saw a headline and was about the difference in price. They're 30 million apart on valuation. I mean, it's huge. That's huge. Like from 55 to 85 or a variation of that is huge. Now, I think Man United will go up from that. It just depends how far Chelsea are willing to come down. I mean, we've seen Chelsea's stance is that they're going to they're willing to sell players that aren't going to sign new contracts. And in the Kai Havertz case the other day, people were talking about him going for basically half price. I mean, I don't know why that was being reported like that. It doesn't make any sense to me. But Chelsea can't value Mason Mount up here, Kai Havertz down here, and have this jagged approach to what players' fees are. There's got to be some consistency to it all. But I do think that this is got a lot more traction than I originally was going to give it credit for. And Mason Mount in a Man United shirt will be very intriguing. I guess when you consider like the situations they found himself in last season with Sabitzer and stuff like that too, to have Mount in there as an option, homegrown too. This is like an opportunity just doesn't come along. To sign an England international like Mason Mount, who's versatile, who's a good character, who has such Premier League pedigree, who could help him in the Champions League too. It's an unbelievable opportunity to make a good value signing if it isn't £85 million. I don't know what you would consider as a fan to be good value or if you even care, but if you were to strike a deal here at £65 million, I'd actually consider it to be pretty good.
65 is probably slightly is above it, but I'm thinking more 55. We're closer than Chelsea and Man United, 10 million. I see Mason Mount as a good to very good player. I think he's better than McTominay, better than Fred, better than Donny. I think on the ball, I think Eriksen's better, but he's vastly superior in terms of his athleticism. So I think he improves our squad. What I've kind of said all along has been testament to, as long as he's not our marquee main midfield signing, and we buy somebody better as well, so we get Caicedo, we get De Jong, I'm just naming people here, they don't have to be truly linked, then I'd be happy with it. If it turns out this is the guy we're bringing in to play next to Casemiro all season, I'm a little concerned.
Yeah.
But a lot of people rate Mason Mount, and a lot of Chelsea fans I've seen online are angry. Almost, look, he's had a bad year, but you're talking about a guy that for 2 or 3 years helped carry the club through really bad periods. So there are a lot of Chelsea fans that back him. There's a lot of professionals that back him. The fact that Klopp and Poch and Arteta and Ten Hag will want him. I have also said I'm very balanced in this. Is there something I'm not seeing as a fan that some of the best managers in the world all rate about him? There's got to be something in that, Dean.
But yeah, but I think he's always been underrated. Obviously, like even when he's been in the England setup regularly, people haven't been excited about it. When he's in Chelsea Champions League winning teams, people really undervalued, I think, what he brought to that team. It's all about the system too at Chelsea that let him down last season. He went off form because Chelsea's system didn't fit Mason Mount, and he became a victim of the whole season, really. Nothing fell his way. And then he picked up injury too, which was quite a bad one. Really gave him no chance to come back properly at the end of the season and show his worth, which has probably affected too what the value of what Chelsea are going to give in terms of a contract at exactly the same time as Chelsea fail to qualify for the Champions League, and suddenly everybody's contracts are having to be pulled in a bit and reined in over the course of the next year. So there's that to take into effect too. I think honestly Mason Mount is really good. I agree with you. I don't think Mason Mount is that deeper line player. I think that United should be looking at somebody like Lavia at Southampton for that role. I think that makes a lot more sense, and the construction of their play would work a lot better if there's somebody else deeper. But to have Mason Mount as an 8 option, and also somebody that can play, further up when you need options, I think he'd be great, and he fits in with a lot of the players and the personalities in that squad too. Yeah, so if I was a United fan and this actually does get signed off, I think you'd have probably quite a lot of reason for optimism rather than worrying about, if this is going to be the marquee name. I don't think it will be the marquee name.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I don't see it being the main player. And I think as someone to challenge Bruno, one thing about Bruno Fernandes, there's a percentage of United fans that can't stand him. I think he's absolutely amazing. But he plays too much. He needs more time on the bench. He needs to, and again, Donny van de Beek was meant to be that guy and has never lived up to the hype. Of course, he got a terrible injury this season that keeps him out the way. And I love to look at Bruno in games and think he looks, expression my dad would use, he looks shagged out. Like he looks exhausted. I haven't heard that expression in years, but I love it. He does. He looks exhausted. And I feel like we need someone that can come into games, especially next year being in the Champions League. We want to fight on all 4 fronts. We kind of need that. You mentioned Lavia there. What have you heard about Man United in terms of that deeper lying player? Whether it's another 6, whether it's someone that can, whether it is someone who plays 8 or box to box, but more of a Caicedo, Lavia, Rice. Have you seen United linked to anybody in that ilk at all?
I think there's interest in Lavia, and I think it'll be interesting once that one gets going. I think he's having a little break, and then they're going to look to attack the options that will be available to him, and he's got some really good ones potentially. I think he's actually available at a pretty good price too, Lavia. He had a really good season at a Southampton team that were very poor, so I think that tells you everything you need to know about his own mindset in terms of self-motivating. Great, could be a great asset. Caicedo, I wouldn't say United are the front runners for that one at the moment. We can talk about that one in a second in terms of where he might be going. But Declan Rice it's got potential if the Arsenal thing doesn't happen again. We'll speak about Rice in a minute. But I do like Rice. I know it wasn't, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was news stories about Rice to Man United. Yeah, there's something there. And if the Arsenal thing doesn't happen, then I would definitely get my hopes up as a United fan. This all makes me think that the Mount isn't that. Mount's never been hyped up as the player that United have been looking at as the midfield option.
I want him. I watched him last night and I saw people, listen, Twitter's a weird bubble. Saw people getting at him. I saw a very good performance in a defender that's told to sit deep. But he just captains West Ham to their first major trophy in 43 years, their first European trophy in 58 years. He now sits shoulder to shoulder with Bobby Moore at a club that isn't expected to win. And it isn't just his ability on the ball. It isn't just his range of passing. It isn't just his combative nature, his reading of the game, his physicality. This guy's leadership ability is absolutely astoundingly good. And I think that if he goes into a team where he's surrounded by Caicedos and Fernandez's of this world and Martinez is behind him, Arsenal, as you say, are more likely, which we'll get onto in a bit. You're just going to see a player elevated. So I personally, if the news broke this afternoon, Man United put £120 million bid in for him, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. I'd be over the moon with him. I think he's out of this world.
Rightly so. I mean, in terms of who else might come on the radar, I think we need to just beware that United have continued to scout heavily in the Netherlands, and Eredivisie continues to be somewhere that Erik ten Hag will turn to in times of need and reliability. I think that's probably a key word here when he's looking for signings that he thinks can transfer their skills from one league to another. He still trusts the place he's come from and knows so many of the characters and playing traits of the people that are there that he thinks can work in the Premier League.